streetwise passion to their music. They are called Intro, and they're brand new, and we have them for you today on Video Soul.
Like the first time. Funny how time flies when you're making love.
If there's one word that nails it for this trio, it's underrated. These guys had talent, killer vocals, and lyrics that hit different. But with all the matching outfits and flashy dance moves, yeah, those pelvic thrusts, from other groups, it's no surprise they might have flown under the radar. Even so, they still dropped bangers by keeping it real. But then, out of nowhere, tragedy struck and everything came to a halt. So, what really happened to the 90s R&B group Intro? Let's break it down. Intro was made up of Jeff Sanders, Clinton Buddy White, and lead singer Kenny Green, all coming together in Brooklyn, New York back in the mid-'80s. The group's name is actually an acronym for Innovative New Talent Reaching Out. Buddy was born and raised in Brooklyn and was all about music from day one. With his dad being a gospel preacher and musician, Buddy was hitting the keys during Sunday church services before he could probably even tie his shoes. At first, he thought his path was in producing, and then he switched gears and tried his hand at rapping. Fun fact, he was actually part of a rap group alongside Jeru the Damaja back in the day. When he hit the right age, Buddy joined the Army, planning on making it a long-term career. He even served during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. But while stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, he crossed paths with Kenny Green, and everything changed. After those deployments, Buddy realized that Army life wasn't it for him anymore, and music started calling him back. Singing wasn't really on his radar until he and Kenny teamed up. Buddy taught Kenny how to play piano, and Kenny got him into singing. Kenny Green was a Detroit kid with serious skills. Not only was he the lead singer for Intro, but he also wrote bangers for big names like Mary J. Blige, 98 Degrees, Cam'ron, and even Will Smith. His pen game was so strong that in 1993, he tied with the legendary duo Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for ASCAP's Songwriter of the Year. On top of writing and producing most of Intro's tracks, Kenny also did a short stint in the Army, where he'd crush military talent shows on the piano. That's where he met Buddy, and together with another Army buddy, they formed Intro. Army life started to cramp their style, so Kenny and Buddy both asked to be let go. Their third bandmate decided to stay in the service, so they needed someone new. Enter Jeff Sanders from Queens, who Buddy met through a friend. The trio spent the summer vibing out in Jeff's mom's backyard. Jeff was the dance guru, Buddy handled the beats, and Kenny wrote the lyrics. It was a match made in musical heaven.
Is this what you wanted?
Yeah. Yeah, man, you know. This is what I always wanted.
I understand y'all work with a lot of people, man. They tell me y'all very, very versatile.
Intro hit the jackpot one night at a club when they bumped into rapper Heavy D. After hearing their spin on a Jodeci track, Heavy was seriously impressed and snagged their number. A week later, he called them up and hooked them up with DJ Eddie F. Eddie brought them into his Untouchables crew, which was tight with Atlantic Records. By 1993, Intro's self-titled debut album dropped, and that was just the beginning of their ride to fame.
From Mariah Carey to Jeff Redd
to Mr. Rogers. And,
Mr. Rogers.
Intro dropped some serious heat with tracks like Love Thang, Let Me Be the One, their epic Stevie Wonder cover, Ribbon in the Sky, and their biggest hit, Come Inside. These jams helped them go platinum. But when they came back with their second album, New Life, things didn't quite pop off as expected. Even though singles like Funny How Time Flies and Feels Like the First Time were fire, the album didn't hit the same highs as their debut.
Like the first time.
In a 2020 chat with YouKnowIGotSoul.com, Buddy dropped the lowdown on what went wrong. After grinding on tour for over 2 years, they hit the studio with a totally different vibe. Kenny's dad had passed away, and they wanted the new album to be a tribute. Buddy admitted he had to step back from producing, and it showed. Plus, The Braxtons, a hot new girl group, snagged all the label's attention and resources, leaving Intro in the shadows. Just when you thought the drama couldn't get any juicier, things took a nosedive. Kenny got suspended after throwing shade at a DJ during a radio interview. He tried going solo, but it didn't really pan out. The trio did regroup for a third album, but it never dropped. Sadly, in 2001, Kenny passed away at 32 from AIDS-related complications. It wasn't until after he died that people learned he was bisexual and had gotten the illness from a partner. Back in the day, the groupie scene was off the charts, but it all fell apart way too fast. Back in the day, Buddy was linked up with Coco from SWV. As their fame soared and they enjoyed the nightlife, Kenny was catching eyes left and right. With his good looks and serious talent, he attracted attention from both women and men. He had that charm, but he was also into guys. His look went from a bulkier build to a leaner one, and he was always battling flu-like symptoms, though he brushed off any concern about his health. Before he passed, Kenny got real about his sexuality and his HIV diagnosis in an interview with Sister to Sister magazine. He knew it was important to be open, especially in the tough macho world of R&B. In a 2020 chat with YouKnowIGotSoul.com, Buddy talked about how losing Kenny hit him hard. He felt like a huge part of his creativity went with Kenny. Beyond being an incredible songwriter, Kenny was like family to Buddy. Over the years, Jeff and Buddy tried to keep Intro alive by bringing in new members and dropping the occasional single, but nothing really stuck. By 2015, there were rumors about a new album, but it never happened. For the past 17 years, Buddy's been hiding a huge secret. He's been working as a New York City cop. After Kenny passed and hip-hop took over, the phone stopped ringing for Intro gigs, and their songs faded from the airwaves. Buddy had to swallow his pride and get a 9-to-5 to support his family. He started the job 3 years after Kenny's death and was set to retire in summer 2021. Then, out of the blue, Jeff Sanders dropped the bomb on social media that he was leaving Intro. Buddy stayed quiet at first, but in a 2021 interview with Halftime Chat, he admitted he was hurt that Jeff didn't give him a heads up or any reasons. Buddy thought Jeff might have felt left out of the group's decisions. This wasn't Jeff's first exit, so Buddy was somewhat ready to move on without him. But just when things looked grim, Buddy and Jeff patched things up. On June 4th, 2021, they're dropping a documentary called Music, Lyrics, and Life, the story of Kenny, Jeff, and Buddy, and there's also a new soundtrack coming that'll be the group's official third album. It's a bummer to see how even talented R&B groups like Intro can fall through the cracks, but they're not alone. The music industry's a tough game, and many promising R&B bands never quite hit it big. Take, for instance, the soulful trio Silk. Despite their smooth jams, they never reached the mainstream heights of their contemporaries. Then there's H-Town, who dropped some iconic hits but never maintained that superstar momentum. Blackstreet is another example. They had some serious bangers but couldn't keep up with the shifting trends. It's a reminder that even with killer talent and catchy tracks, it's not always about the music. The industry's full of variables, from management decisions to market shifts. So, while Intro's story is heartbreaking, it's part of a bigger pattern where incredible talent sometimes just doesn't get the spotlight it deserves.
Don't you know that like the snow, jumping fast, that ain't gon'
H-Town, the R&B group that made a splash in the 90s, was born in 1990 with the Connor brothers, Kevin Dino Connor, 1974-2003, and Solomon Shazam Connor, and their buddy Daryl G.I. Jackson. They grew up in Houston's 3rd Ward and went to Jack Yates High School. By 1991, they were rocking as The Gents, but their debut album, It's No Dream, didn't quite hit it big. Enter Luther Luke Campbell, the local producer who scooped them up for his label, Luke Records. He saw potential in Dino's standout voice and pushed him into the spotlight. They rebranded as H-Town after Houston's local nickname. Their 1993 album, Fever for Da Flavor, dropped the legendary track Knockin' Da Boots, which smashed the R&B charts and hit number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. They followed up with Lick You Up and snagged the Soul Train Music Award for Best New Artist in 1994. Their next album, After Dark in 1994, gave us hits like Emotions. Sadly, the story took a heartbreaking turn in 2003 when Dino and his girlfriend died in a car crash. Despite the tragedy, H-Town's smooth vibes and killer harmonies continue to resonate with fans. Silk got their big break thanks to the legendary Keith Sweat. Originally a 5-member crew, the group included Timothy Timzo Cameron, James Jimmy Gates Jr., Jonathan John Rasborough, Tyga Graham, and Albert Nella Allen. After a couple of members left, Gary Big G Glenn and Gary Lil G Jenkins came on board. Their debut album, Lose Control, was packed with bangers like Freak Me and Happy Days. The smooth track Girl You For Me helped the album go double platinum. Silk kept the hits coming with tracks like I Can Go Deep, Hooked on You, Don't Rush, and Meeting in My Bedroom. In 1994, they snagged Album of the Year for Lose Control at the Soul Train Music Awards. They took a break in 2002 after leaving Elektra, and Gary Jenkins even dabbled in acting with Tyler Perry's play Medea's Family Reunion. But they weren't done yet. They made a comeback in 2003 with their 5th album, Silk Time, and in 2016, they dropped their 7th album, Quiet Storm. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button with notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. See you next time.